Right now, the rights of artists are under attack here in the United States. The Supreme Court is deciding this issue right now. Hopefully the Supreme Court will once again designate art as part of free speech and therefore covered and backed by our First Amendment rights. But why should we care? We should care because great art requires freedom on the part of the artist to create the art they want. You see, when an artist is told what type of paintings to paint, what kind of films to produce, what kind of musical songs to write, we have lost the true essence of what art was meant to do for society. You see, the moment the government or academia or media and journalists stop giving a voice to everyone and start silencing the voices they despise, that's the moment liberty loses its luster. And if you look throughout history, you'll find a pattern that there are people who hate artists and people who become convinced they must control all the creative people. Dictators despise artists who don't pander and praise them. Abusive leaders stamp at anyone who fails to fall in line. And political parties who believe they are on the right side of every issue will do whatever it takes to silence or punish opposing voices. They lack humility, they lack a desire to have a dialogue, so they must crush the opposition. And this isn't hard to understand how it works, right? When someone becomes obsessed with their own view of the world and they're so convinced they're right and everyone else is wrong, they begin to look down on other people. And eventually this leads to censoring and punishing any and all of those who do not fall in line and support their view of life, of world, of psychology, of whatever it is. There's nothing new. It should not be a surprise, but humans often fail to learn from the past, and so we end up repeating the same mistakes that led to the same abuses, whether it's abuse of women or children or the artists or the avant-garde, because they're not paying attention to this dynamic. Some leaders may say they even love rebels, but all too often, the revolutionaries only have time for the rebels who support their view. All of the rebels become targets. They're not tolerant, they're not gracious, they're not kind. They're the height of intolerance. And this is why art must remain protected as free speech, if democracy and our other freedoms are to remain intact. And that is what I want to take a deeper dive into in this video to talk about art, free speech, and also religion. Welcome. I'm Joel Pelsu, president of Arts and Entertainment Ministries, where we mentor artists and creative professionals to succeed creatively and grow spiritually at the same time. If God's called you into a creative career, you need to know you're not alone. We have videos and blogs and online courses created just for you. You can find them by using the links down below. You may say, why do we do this? Well, we do this to encourage and equip you so you have confidence working as a Christian in the art world, media, or entertainment industry. Whether you live in a small market, you work remotely like so many do nowadays, or if you live in a work in a major market like here in LA, New York, London, Paris, Dubai, Hong Kong, wherever it is. Now, before we jump in, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video and ask one favor. Take just a second, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. You know what to do. That'll help other people find this content. Makes a difference. And thank you for doing that. So let's talk about free speech and the arts today. There's no true free speech and there's no artistic freedom in China, in Russia, vast majority of Muslim countries in the Middle East. And this is because those countries do not believe in free speech. And they're threatened by artists and creatives. So let's take a look at the nature of art and see what this means. The beauty of art is a relationship between the artist and the work they create and the patron. Now, it's a reflection of their training, their passions, their experiences, and their gifting. This is what makes art so wonderful. You can see art by Rothko, listen to music by Ray Charles, watch movies by Terrence Malick, and recognize immediately their unique voice and contribution to culture. Each work of art reflects something unique about human nature and the makeup and intentions of the artist who created it. What is the enemy of all art? What could tear at the very fabric of the artist's conscience and unravel the very freedoms which artists hold so dear? That'd be a world where patrons can force artists to create works of art that violate their conscience. A world where studios could force filmmakers to create films that violate their conscience. And a world where music producers can force musicians to write and perform music they find repulsive. Now, in the interest of clarity, allow me to use a few extreme examples. First, Imagine we lived in a world where music producers could force an African American man to perform music that celebrates slavery. Then we've lost the very heart of what all Americans have fought to protect. Or if we lived in a world where a filmmaker could force a man of Jewish descent to create and distribute anti-Semitic movies. We've lost the very heart of what America is about, what we died to protect. If this seems absurd and preposterous, you may not be aware of what's happening in our own culture. Shockingly, this is exactly what is happening right now in the United States. Artists are losing their businesses, being forced to pay massive fines because they won't create art that supported ideas and views they didn't embrace. Patrons came into their store, said, I want you to create something that I know is offensive to you. And these artists said no. And right now, those artists are before the Supreme Court fighting for free speech and the rights of all artists. So stay with me during this video and let me show you behind the curtain of what is going on in the art world, the legal world, and the political world that is eroding the rights of artists and professional creatives. First, let's talk about free speech in cinema and film. You know, art has been granted the ultimate protection in America. It's part of what makes this country so unique. This is why a film like Avatar by James Cameron can be completely pagan and pantheistic, which would offend Muslims, Christians, Jews, anybody else's worldview. But we say, hey, it's a free country. You can make a movie with a completely different religion than other people in the country. Or it allows a person like Martin Scorsese to wrestle with his Italian Catholic heritage throughout his body of work in very unorthodox and even heretical ways, like in his Last Temptation of Christ. The beauty of film in America is that this filmmaking falls under free speech, and that even self-described atheist directors like Darren Aronofsky can create a film called Noah that is offensive to Christians and sacrilegious and would offend religious Jews who take the Bible seriously. But he's free to make that film. He's free to make it. We don't have to go see it, but he's free to make it, and we understand that. These filmmakers are free to offend whomever they want. Sure, they may sell fewer tickets at the box office, but they're free to express their views, whatever views they embrace. And this is what's so unique about art in the United States. Movies have been given status as a type of work covered under the First Amendment. So what about the role of Motion Picture Association of America? Though free speech of musicians, filmmakers, and artists have been challenged here in the United States, it was the MPAA, the Motion Picture Association of America, who is the defender of that free speech or that creative, free artistic license. The former senator and former chairman and CEO of the MPAA, Chris Dodd, left no room for doubt how essential the First Amendment was to filmmakers. As a contributor to the Huffington Post, he stated, quote, "The First Amendment right to free speech undergirds all other rights. And here at the MPAA, we value and protect this freedom because it's at the heart of everything we do. We take pride in our role protecting the rights of filmmakers to tell their stories and for audiences to hear and see them. Throughout its history, the film and television community has been a steadfast voice for free speech and expression." He goes on, in fact, it was founded in 1922 to resist calls for government censorship. And while the nature of the fight has changed over the past century, our fight to promote and protect free speech continues unabated. We will always fight on behalf of creators and in support of free speech. End quote. Huffington Post, 2017, not that long ago. And you may be thinking, what about the ACLU? It's another group that is taking great pride in being a champion of free speech for creatives, from striking down obscenity laws for the internet to fighting for the rights of artists to create offensive and transgressive art. No matter who they offend, they should be free to make it. The ACLU proudly highlights the case Burstyn versus Wilson, where the Supreme Court struck down a ban on Roberto Rossellini's film, The Miracle, which the New York Board of Regents had found sacrilegious and offensive. But this meant, for the first time, the Supreme Court held that motion pictures are a significant medium for the communication of ideas. This entitled it to some First Amendment protections. And I would say this, looking back at the MPAA and the ACLU, they defended the rights of artists to create whatever they wanted, And that's a good thing. Even if they're defending the rights of offensive artists, we can't pick and choose. We need to have freedom for artists to create whatever they want. They don't have to all be equally in the public square, and the ones that are too offensive will not be purchased. People will not buy it. They will not be fans of it. We're seeing that now. Some art created, people just don't want to go see. So they fail, and the creators of that art loses money. But that allows the market to make the decision, not the censors. So this brings me to the really surprising issue, and the problem here is the hypocrisy of Hollywood and the ACLU. You see, now the ACLU isn't defending all artists, only the ones they agree with. They're attacking artists today. They used to defend the obscene and the violent and the pornographic, but now they're attacking the wholesome. They've stopped protecting free speech and have opted to push for compelled speech and compelled art, where patrons can demand artists make whatever art the patron demands. And sadly, the MPAA isn't defending artists' rights either. So you may be asking, Joel, what is this current free speech crisis? What artists are under fire these days that I'm not hearing about? Is it some new Ozzy Osbourne imitator biting the heads off of bats? No. Is it some new shocking photographer making obscene and sacrilegious art? No. Who are they attacking? Which artists? Let me share with you. First, it's this lovely old lady who just wants to create floral arrangements for her clients. Or it's this gracious elderly man who wants to make cakes that bring joy to his clients. Or it's this designer who wants to bring joy and thoughtfulness to her clients' projects. You see, all three of these people committed a crime according to the ACLU, and the ACLU wants to throw the book at them, punish them with major fines, which in reality means putting them out of business. What was their crime? They wanted to maintain artistic freedom. When it comes to the art they create, they don't want to be bullied into making things they don't agree with. And this is why the ACLU is attacking them. See, they're happy to serve any and all customers, including people in the LGBTQ community. In fact, they have wonderful stories of great relationships with customers who identify as LGBTQ. So what did these people do to incur the wrath of the ACLU and get ignored by the MPAA? Why did activists punish these artists and seek to make an example out of them? They declined to create art which explicitly promoted and celebrated things they don't agree with. And the one key issue in all three of these cases is this. Clients came to these creatives knowing they were Christians who believe in traditional marriage, and then asked for these artists to create art supporting weddings they did not support. Think about this. In these towns, there are hundreds of floral arrangement people, hundreds of cake bakers, hundreds of designers. There's not a lack of people who will make the artwork for their weddings. But these people chose to choose these Christians and then sue them. And on a personal note, people will hate on these people. I want to tell you, I have personally spoken to these three Christian men and women. I've had lunch with them, breakfast with them, dinner with them. They're the kindest, most gracious people you will meet. They're not angry. They're not religious zealots. They're just artists that want to share their gift and be a blessing to others. The very idea that they are harassed for their faith by attacking their creative work is so deeply offensive and insidious, because it's not really just about art. They're trying to silence anyone who has a particular religious belief that doesn't go along with the current narrative. You see, here in LA, creatives defend their artistic freedom all the time to make grotesque, offensive, obscene, pornographic art. But they won't defend the rights of an artist to decline work based on their views. And yes, I do believe artists in Hollywood are hypocrites if they won't defend the rights of these artists. If you only defend the art you prefer, you don't really care about art. You just care about one kind of art, yours. And you're just selfish and self-focused. You don't care about the broader art world. You know what? I'll just call out a few names that should be in this conversation. SouthPark should be mocking the ACLU for this buffoonery and hypocrisy. Bill Maher should be ripping ACLU and the MPAA a new one because they're hypocrites. They don't believe in free speech. They only believe in free speech for their crowd. And Joe Rogan should be talking about this, because free speech means free speech for all podcasters, all artists, all creatives. We can't silence some because we don't like what they're saying. America is built on the idea that we let everyone's ideas into the marketplace and let them fend for themselves. They should not be thwarted by the government, by patrons, by the ACLU, by anyone, by Christians, or by people who are atheists, people who are pro-LGBTQ, or people who disagree. None of those groups should be controlling the speech of artists. The artist should have the freedom to say what they want to say. You see, if anyone is censored, the very essence of free speech is broken to the core. No one in Hollywood should be silent, even if they disagree with the views of these artists. And yes, if you have a voice, you need to use it to support these creatives who are under fire for just staying in their shop and someone walking in and asking them to create art they don't agree with and saying, no, I'll take a pass. That was their offense. Don't put your head in the sand. Don't be an ostrich. Don't think they'll never come for you. Don't think being nice will get you a pass. These people are as nice as you can get. There's no pass. It is bow down, agree with our viewpoint, support us, use your art to create things that you disagree with, and support us or we will crush you. And once art is no longer protected as free speech like this, all artists, movie studios, and creators are at risk. Free speech is at the heart of artistic expression in LA and New York. And free speech means not only that Quentin Tarantino can revel in violence and make political commentary without fear of repercussions. It means SouthPark may be somewhat restrained by broadcast standards and practices, but remains free to criticize and mock Scientology, celebrities, religions, Christianity, cultures, traditions. It means Leah Remini can make a show criticizing the evil empire that is Scientology, despite the fact that most celebrities have been afraid to offend Tom Cruise or John Travolta and other famous Scientologists. This also applies to music, performance art, visual art, and any other form of personal expression. We cannot censor whatever we do not happen to like or whatever we happen to find personally objectionable. The state, the government, is not to prefer one belief system over another, one worldview over another. It is to remain agnostic. Just remember the iconic image of justice. This woman that is blind to giving favors, to playing favorites. Freedom for artists goes hand in hand with human flourishing. This is both the soil of healthy freedom and evidence of the freedom where art can flourish, and naturally where humanity can flourish. We're free to make what we love, even if it offends others, while people quite different from us are free to make whatever they want to make that might deeply offend us. Without this freedom, free speech is not free. In such a brave new world, our First Amendment has been dismantled and transformed into a pet project for a new breed of censors and a new era of digital book burning where the latest, hippest, and most exciting ideas justify destroying every opposing idea in the past. Every sentiment that disagrees with us, we will destroy. These new censors hate true free speech. This is why, like every tyrant, they must silence and force into submission all who do not toe the current political and ideological line. So what is the state of freedom of speech in America? Well, you'd think after nearly 250 years as a nation, this matter would be settled. You would think all Americans would be thankful for this First Amendment freedom, and especially artists. But somehow, in a weird twist of events, we're finding our First Amendment rights under attack. They're starting with the artists. But next, they'll silence everyone who doesn't agree with them. Right now, our country is facing a new censorship, a new silencing of artists, a new elite regime that doesn't want to protect the First Amendment rights of all citizens. It only wants to protect the First Amendment rights of their friends, their cronies, their colleagues, and their groupies. The threat is real. Don't put your head in the sand. Don't think someone else will fight the good fight. And you may ask, well, how can you help? Share this video with as many people as possible. Learn about these artists and be inspired. Some have already lost almost everything for their faith and for their creative freedom. Support ministries like ours. Go to our website and support us. Support alliances like Alliance Defending Freedom. It takes money to take these cases to the Supreme Court. It takes money to litigate and deal with all the objections and the injunctions and all the legal process, and to pay for legal minds that have the ability to take it to the Supreme Court and make the case made clearly. It It takes money to get the press to cover these stories, to make a difference. And we need to do it together. Here's the point. Artists are not slaves who photograph whatever some slave driver demands. And artists are not peasants who do whatever their king demands. And artists are not even employees who do whatever their employer requires. We live in a free country. Everyone's free to say what they want, including artists to say what they want through their art. In the United States, the very idea of compelled speech, forcing someone to say what you want them to say, is unconstitutional. So why isn't compelled art equally unconstitutional? One reason, they know the power of art. They want to force all artists to use that power to support new ideas about culture, and it's the only way to crush all the old views. It's the same thing all dictators do. Round up all the artists, tell them they must make art that supports the new vision, and those who give in have a job. Those who resist, you're killed, expelled, erased. We never hear about those people. But we don't live in some dictator-run country. We live in America. It may seem crazy, but this is just common sense. These artists aren't creating anything offensive, anything obscene or hateful or slanderous. They're not attacking anyone. They just care about the message of the art they do create, which is what all artists do. Spielberg cares about his message. Tarantino cares. Geffen cares. Rothko cares. Picasso cares. Rembrandt cared. All artists care about their message. This is not new. This is exactly the same for all creatives. See, there's no crime here. These are just artists doing what every artist throughout history does. And what they want to do is express their ideas freely. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. I hope this was informative and enlightening. Please leave a comment down below. Did you know the rights of artists were under attack and that free speech was at risk, especially in relation to art? And do me a favor, please share this video on all your social media accounts so we can help more people understand this issue. Hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. God bless, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.